Hi everyone. The second collaborative tool that I'm going to share is Classflow. It is another free account that you can create. I want to start off by saying it's not the easiest to use. I definitely feel like you need to be comfortable with it. And I was kind of playing around with it the other night and I wasn't feeling comfortable with it. I was like, oh no. And I also struggled because I don't have a whiteboard or a smartboard or anything, which I don't think you necessarily need, but I think it would make them more interactive and fun. I gave my one student an iPad today and we did it on that. He definitely had fun. But I think if you were to use this in like your classroom, having a smartboard would definitely be helpful and make it a little more fun because there's different flip charts you can do and dragging things, but I'll show you that in a second. So once you create your account, this is the page that you'll see. There's the instant whiteboard, which just shows a whiteboard for you to use, and there's shapes and pens, and there's your eraser and all sorts of stuff you can do on that. Then you can create a poll, which is really neat. There we go. You can create your lessons right on here and create activities. And then there's also quizzes and assessments. I read something online. I did my research and I just kind of Googled stuff and looked at their videos, which there are tons of videos on here for you to check out. What's new, getting started, creating a lesson, connecting your students. So many how-to videos, which were so helpful to me. But the one article I read, it was like, this is like your personal desk in the cloud. Like you can seriously do everything on here. And one of my favorite things about this was that there are ready-made resources for you. And I actually used one today. I used the Let's Spread Kindness lesson, just kind of with one of my students who's my little guinea pig. I just wanted to see how it worked on the iPad. But it took me a minute. I originally wanted to do I'm working on the zones of regulation. It's one of his goals is working on the emotional regulation part. And I was looking through it and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like we have blue, green, yellow, I have my zones. We have the emotions that are in each one. Then I can have him check in. There were a few different check-ins. Or actually it's not even a check-in. He could just say, I feel sad in the blue zone, for example. And then there was this, what can we do to calm down in each zone? And I loved it, but I couldn't get it to work on my computer or his iPad this morning. So it's definitely something I need to play around with to feel more comfortable. And honestly, I could even make my own. That would be no big deal. You can also give parents codes to this so they can go through the lesson and see what you're working on, which I thought was really neat. Another thing that I really loved, and I didn't play around with it, but I read about it, and I was like, I can't wait to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. In the polls, you can create polls that are answered with true-false questions, or you can create polls by taking pictures, making collages, labeling images, which I think would be really awesome and something a little different. Immediately I thought about, I teach whole body listening. We can label a listener. That could be a poll question. Somehow work that into it. As I look at the collaborative outcomes and the table on page 109, the main thing that I'm seeing here is kind of reflection. You can share different media. It's like a private little discussion forum almost because we just have the lesson, the outreach and authentic learning experiences. The lesson is right here. I'm ready to go. All the students need to do is log on and you'll have it. You can go to your classes. So it would be right here. I delivered the lesson. All he needed to do was click on it and ready to go. So for your class, you could write your message. You pick which class you want. Right now, I only have this class in here, and it pops up right on their feed too, which would be right here. And super helpful. Like I said, I used it this morning. Definitely need to feel more comfortable with it, but it was easy for him to maneuver. I had him create his own account, which took some time. So I think if I were to do it again, I'd be creating my accounts, but he could totally do it. Because at first I was like, this is not something I don't think I would use this in an online class. To me, it seemed like something I would use if I were just standing in front of my class talking like I do, like we do every day. And a just fun way to bring technology into it. But you can totally do this online, like I was saying. Just give them the code, you have everything right there for them, easy peasy. As far as the social presence model, again, I feel like this is something like connecting to it. A lot of the stuff's already hopefully determined, like your community, your level of interaction, though, was one that I kind of got stumped on when I was thinking about this, because it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily interacting. Let me pull up this Let's Spread Kindness lesson. This is just an example. Obviously, there are tons of lessons on here, so it all depended on how you presented it. Because right here, share with your partner. So immediately I was like, oh, I don't know if you're in an online class. But there's things like Zoom, you could be video chatting and you could still discuss it with your partner, or you could do a whole class type of things. So there are definitely options. The interaction intensity, though, is just, I feel like it would have to be instructor started out strong, and then slowly your kids would understand more and more to interact. It goes back to your classroom expectations, I guess, that interacting is expected. Their knowledge and experience, same thing as in Edmodo. There's the assessment tool, or the polls tool in this one, I guess. And you can do that pre-assessment. You can check. You can know before your lesson what areas you really need to hit and what areas you don't need to. The instructor involvement also kind of made me think, because you could really just give them the code and be like, hey, go do this. And you could be monitoring it, but you wouldn't necessarily need to be instructing it. Again, I need to play around with this more. So I'm sure there are ways where I could still, well, I guess Zoom, I could still be teaching it. But I think at some point it would be fun for the kids to do it on their own too. And I guess it really all just depends on how you structure your class and how much support you want to give your students and how much independence you want to give your students as well. But I absolutely love this. I cannot wait to use it. And I'm definitely going to look into the pre-made materials some more and make my own materials that I can use without having a whiteboard and those types of things.